Real quick, just want to let you know about an amazing giveaway that we just launched. All you have to do is head to our Instagram at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. It'll be an opportunity to win a $100 Starbucks gift card, as well as an exclusive limited edition Colossus Fitness hoodie. If you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify, you can see me rocking it right here. So you have an awesome opportunity. All you have to do is follow us. Make sure to tag a few friends, as well as some bonus entries for sharing it to your story. So good luck. And now into this amazing jam-packed episode. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and Most of All Happy podcast. I am your host and coach, KG, and I'm here by myself for an amazing episode. Unfortunately, Coach Josh couldn't make this one today, but I've planned and I'm going to deliver an incredible hybrid training type episode. Now, this is going to be focused simply on the basics of strength training and endurance training, how to do all of that great stuff while maintaining all of your muscle mass. Now, obviously, hybrid training, doing a combination of running and strength training has been becoming popular, right? It seemed like it started a little bit with CrossFit, and then there was a lot of people who ventured off into doing like marathons and trying to maintain strength training. Now there's High Rocks, which isn't as much running. Obviously, you still need some great cardiovascular health, but the biggest thing is how to maintain all of this. And I've done it quite a few times before. And I wanted to give you a little backstory because a lot of people don't exactly know this if you're new to the podcast. So quite a few years ago, I decided to set a lot of different goals. Like it was once COVID hit that were based off of running and strength training. Now, a lot of people know that these two worlds typically do collide. And if you get really, really good at one, oftentimes you'll get bad at the other. So that's where it gets really tough. If you see a marathon runner who's really, really good and he starts to really focus on that, I promise you he will not be a good, I guess you could say, power lifter. He's not going to be the strongest in the gym. And so I wanted to try to conquer this. I wanted to try to see how can I master these two to the best of my ability, right? I'm not going to be an elite level Olympian or power lifter or anything like that, but I started to set different goals. And my first one was I wanted to go from zero running to do a half marathon. And the next day I wanted to do a 405-pound back squat, like to depth, like really good form. And so after failing once, I ended up the next week being able to conquer that, which was an incredible accomplishment and something I was so proud of. Then afterwards, I set the goal of doing a marathon. So that was the following year. I wanted to do a marathon. As I started to train, my goal was 3 hours and 30 minutes. And then as the training went on, it got to be really spectacular, truthfully. And then I set a goal of 3 hours and 15 minutes. I hit 3 hours and 15 minutes. Now, the next year, I ended up doing a ultra marathon relay, which was basically just me and 7 other guys. We did a 650 kilometer run, which is like 450 miles, I guess you could say. And basically we did that as fast as we physically could. So I had to run multiple times throughout the day, throughout the night. And that was really challenging. I ended up doing about 50 miles or so within like 47 hours on like no sleep, as well as 50 miles of biking. So that was like the hardest thing I've ever done. But moral of the story, and I want to share that with you because I've had a lot of different phases where it was so challenging to just manage both, to try to maintain muscle, to try to be as strong as possible, and to try to do the right stuff. And the first and most important tip within this episode, it's all going to come down to scheduling. Like if you don't sit down, and obviously it depends on the goal that you have, but like I'm talking about things where it's like, hey, you've got to get your strength training in. Obviously we know that's important, but we've got to get some running in. Like if you don't sit down with your calendar on a Sunday and literally pinpoint exactly when you're going to do things, barely anything is going to get done. It's going to get very challenging. And even for myself, I was so heavily focused on trying to maintain both, like, and not neglect one, right? So I had to sit down, put in my calendar, figure out around work, around filming, around, relationships, all that stuff. Like, when am I going to get both done? And honestly, as I was training for a lot of these events, I did come to the conclusion that running in the morning was like the best thing for me, especially because I didn't really like running. Like that was the thing that if you told me to do it later at night, my willpower, like there's just, unless I'm doing it with a bunch of friends, there's a 0% chance I'm going to get that done. Whereas later on, if I go to the gym and lift, I would be with Josh and it would be totally fine. That was no problem no problem for me. So sitting down and working around your schedule, like I know it sounds like a very simple tip, but most people don't go down that route to actually like figure out when am I going to get it done. So I use Google Calendar and I would sit there every morning. I would put in like, and I would even put in the exact program that I had. So it'd be like long run, 15 kilometers, 10 miles, whatever the conversion is. I say kilometers because that's the metric that we use here, but I know a lot of people use miles. So I would put that in the calendar, like specifically, like Saturday morning would be like my really long run. And when it's in there, it's in there. Like I don't deviate, right? So I would put in 30 kilometers, I'd make it 2.5 hours. Like I'd put in the exact kind of distance and just really plan things out. So if there was a get together, if there was something going on, my entire schedule would work around that. And that's mainly because like those were my goals. Like they meant so much to me. And a lot of times when people have goals, they can allow other things to take over, especially if it doesn't mean as much. And you're just like, oh, I'm training for a marathon. And then someone has something that comes up. They'd be like, oh, that's okay. I'll do my run tomorrow or I'll do it another time. Like I was super strict on that. And that's to me what helped manage it all and allowed me to be successful in these endurance-based events as well. The next thing is following a properly periodized routine. So Coach Josh put together a killer 4-day strength training program for me, obviously taking into consideration the running volume that was going to my legs. Like that is, it was a lot, like so much running, right? We had to make sure to monitor all that stuff, make sure that that's taken care of. And then also I had a running coach, a buddy from high school. He put together, based off of me wanting to still do 4 strength training workouts, like he put together an amazing routine for me. Like one day would be a long run, one day would be like intervals to make sure that we maintain speed. There were just, it was a couple years ago and I have it on my laptop still, the stuff that he gave me, but it was amazing because each day it wasn't like, what do I feel like doing? It was like, hey, here's your routine. You should follow it. And it was based off of like experts, like Josh giving me a strength training program, my buddy Ben giving me a running program. And it was just like, it was for me, right? And that's where I think a lot of people struggle is that they just kind of wake up or they follow like an app, which apps can be okay to give you some direction, but at the same time, it's not exactly created for you. And that's the same with strength training programs. Like it really should be created for you. It should be based off of what's going on in your life. Like what paces are you running at? Like to me, there's so many things that need to be taken into consideration. And so by me following this periodized routine and then even checking in with them at the end of the week, I didn't want to disappoint, obviously, myself, but I didn't want to disappoint them. And I would have to put the speeds that I would run at, I'd have to, put everything like in the spreadsheets and do all this stuff. And that's why, obviously, I'm such a big fan of coaching because to me, it's changed my life, but I know it changes a lot of others, like having that accountability and having that structure. Because if you just said like, all right, it's Monday morning, just go out there and go for a light jog. I promise you, I'll go around the block. I'm disciplined. I'll say like, I believe I'm a disciplined person, but like, I'm not going to go for that hour-long run. It's just not the reality. And then obviously next up, this is something important to consider. And this is something I had to kind of go through during these different phases. And I just want to like reiterate, like the phase that you're going through will be different, right? So if you're just someone who's doing like a 5K and you want to like be fit, that's going to be a bit different than someone who wants to do something. And that's still an amazing accomplishment, right? The training levels and the tips that I'm going to give will be a little bit different for each person. You have to kind of take it based off of your situation and what you're doing. But I had to really, really start to prioritize like what was actually important to me, especially because strength training would be, let's say, 5 hours a week. Running would end up being, I'd say, somewhere closer to 15, depending on like how long the runs were, like the practice that I would go to. Like every Thursday, I would go to a running practice with friends. We would do some track stuff, and obviously getting there, like it would take quite a bit of time, but I had to start to evaluate what was important. And especially, you guys know I love sports, but I did have to start to kind of choose what makes the most sense for me. Like if a friend invited me to a Monday night hockey league where I'd go and just destroy myself on ice, like I had to start to be careful with some of that stuff because even like the injuries would take place. My legs would just be destroyed. I'd be up later, which would then affect my run the next day. And even like one of the greatest things I feel like I did just to go through these accomplishments, marathon, ultra marathon, relay, all that stuff, was I just started to be a little bit more strict with my time in terms of like I remember Friday nights, a lot of friends wanted to do stuff, but I said, you know what? Like, I love hanging out with you guys. Let's go Saturday night. Like, I will be there Saturday night. Sunday's my chill day. But like Friday night, no way, because Saturday morning, when it was a long run, close to 3 hours, I'm like, I can't be out late. I can't just, I need to focus on my goals. And that was something that was really, to me, like very, very helpful. But yeah, like you just might have to cut out some different things, even like when it comes to programming, right? As much as I love having like biceps and, having decent sized arms or trying to have decent sized arms, that wasn't exactly going to be as important during this time. Like doing like an arm day is not going to be as beneficial. So I had to kind of be careful and make sure that things were planned out and I did the stuff that really mattered instead of a bunch of fluff work. Now, real quick, before I jump into the next tip, I have put together a full free hybrid training guide. This is something that will give you a bunch of different tips, strategies, training principles, the things that I've been able to do myself, but I also have helped a number of different clients get ready for specific events. I've had a lot of marathoners, ultra marathoners, CrossFitters, high rocks competitors, and all that great stuff. People who are just getting into their first 5K, 10K, whatever it is, these principles will change the game for you. And I truly believe when you have an actual approach and something that will give you some guidance and some things to think about, it'll help you be able to master this entire world of hybrid training, which is a very, very hard thing to master because there's so many different things pulling you in different directions. People are saying a bunch of different stuff, and it's really, really hard to focus on what's actually important. So just message me free hybrid training guide. I'll send that over, no strings attached. Now into the next tip. Another really big tip, and this is going to be number 4, something that so many runners, especially even hybrid athletes, will miss out on. And this is like, as a kind of marathon runner and everything, like I noticed many, many people making the mistake of taking shortcuts through strength training. Now, especially when it comes to running, it's so easy to just be like, oh, well, being strong doesn't help me. Like, if I get too strong, I'm going to be too bulky. There's just a lot of misconceptions with that, but I'll never forget hearing from some of the top like running coaches in the industry, and they said, listen, you need to be strength training. You need to be doing single leg work. Like when you're doing heavy lunges, when you're doing single leg press, when you're doing just like your overall squats, like leg day, like it was tough because I was so sore a lot of the time, right? But I found that that was so important for my overall journey, just to maintain like and avoid injuries. And I'll be honest with you, there were a lot of times where I would see some friends who would do, let's say, 4 runs a week. They would be consistently getting injured just because they haven't built up the strength in their abductor, in their groins, in their hamstrings, in their calves. Like, and obviously that's just like leg specific stuff, but even upper body, like a lot of people don't realize how important it is. And even when I'm running, like the amount of times that, your upper body's involved, right? You're moving your arms around. It really does make a big difference. So like you don't need, especially if your goal is like to do some sort of like hybrid or whatever event that you're striving for, you'd like to do, even if it's just like regular training, like you don't need to have like the world's strongest bench press or anything like that. But I still maintained it. And especially for me, like with my goals and what I'm trying to talk about today, I want to maintain muscle. I want to maintain strength. Like I'm not the biggest fan of just being like, hey, I'm doing an endurance event. I don't care about strength and size. Like I've worked hard for years to try to just be a stronger, more muscular person. I'm like, I want to try to maintain all this, right? And that was one of my biggest goals and something I really encourage a lot of people to do instead of just letting it go to the side and just saying, oh, well, now I've lost everything. Now I'm a runner, I guess. And then, you've worked hard, right? And even a lot of people don't realize you work so hard to build this muscle. And yes, there is muscle memory and all this other stuff, but you don't want to look back and it's just gonna be so much harder to try to get it back. Instead, just try to maintain all of it. And to me, that's one of the biggest things. But number 5, honestly, is gonna be nutrition, right? Like nutrition was one of the most important things in so many different ways. So making sure I'm hitting 1 gram per pound of protein every single day and I would even go above that just to try to make up for the fact that I was like burning so much, like doing really long runs, like hours on end, making sure I'm eating enough calories, right? Because once again, when you get into the whole running and I could talk about like even triathlons, like cycling, swimming, all that other stuff, like whatever it is that you guys want to kind of consider, you're burning so many calories and like, it's tough because you end up obviously eating into your muscle mass, right? If you are, let's say, going about your regular day the way that you used to, and then you start to burn a bunch of calories, but you don't eat more, you're just going to essentially be burning into muscle, right? I know it doesn't sound the most scientific there, but the truth is you'll be in a really heavy calorie deficit then. You'll burn a little bit of muscle, you burn a little bit of fat. And that's why you see a lot of, I guess you could say, kind of athletes who are more into like the hybrid style running stuff. They just don't, look as good as they'd want to. Or you see them and they're kind of like, hey, I'm an elite marathon runner, but they haven't obviously built up a physique that kind of looks like they're heavily into fitness and stuff like that, right? It's just more kind of like a lean, slender look, right? So just something to consider, like nutrition is going to be so important for overall your recovery. And even for me, like I just really try to eat back my calories. Like when I started these different phases, my goal was to try to maintain my weight. Obviously lost a few pounds, but I felt like if I ate a lot of really good food back, that it would help me at least maintain some muscle mass and also help with my performance, obviously, recovery, and just nutrition is such an underrated thing, right? A lot of people just go burn themselves out, do tons of running, tons of lifting, and then just never focus on the nutrition side, which like really, really doesn't help at all. And next up, no matter what you're looking forward to or looking to accomplish, we need to recover like an athlete, right? So once again, on that note, a lot of people really focus on the training, right? It's like they're on the bike for hours, they're running for hours, they're lifting, they're doing all that great stuff. But unfortunately, they don't end up actually spending time recovering. And once again, it gets really hard to balance all this because we only have so much time for family, for friends, for, our jobs and everything like that. So a lot of people end up just taking shortcuts on the recovery component. And this is something that will be really, really hard to manage. But the truth is, we should be trying to sleep 7 to 9 hours a night. We should make sure that we're drinking a ton of water consistently. We're having some electrolytes for our longer runs. We're focused on even the overall recovery, aka foam rolling, massages, deep tissue work. Like this was one of the most important things for me actually, was just consistently having a routine at night when I could finally unwind and just chill out, was just like spending time doing this stuff, especially because it is all hard on your body, right? So our hips get tight, our glutes get tight, our back, like everything like that. And so I would spend a lot of time on my downtime, instead of just watching a TV show or doing whatever, I would try to be productive and do a lot of this stuff. And I found that it was so helpful. Like even for those of you who do a lot of running, your back gets like really tight, right? So I would just take a lacrosse ball and, kind of work into my upper traps and just spend a lot of time taking care of myself, right? Especially running, lifting, like you're burning yourself out so much. So you need to spend time thinking, hey, I am an athlete. And even if it's like a shorter event you're getting ready for, like tell yourself you're an athlete, treat yourself like an athlete. It makes such a big difference. And next up, you want to get uncomfortable and embrace the suck. The amount of times it'll be challenging to get out there and you're just going to want to give up and you're going to want to throw in the towel. The amount of times that happened to me, especially during the longer runs and those like really heavy endurance-based weeks, and it was challenging. I'm telling you, like there were so many times it was just like, why am I doing this? Why am I up at 5 a.m.? Like, what am I doing? And even for someone like I would say I'm quite disciplined, like it just got so challenging. But I just kept saying, you know what? You have a goal, stay strong. And it was just so worth it. So you will have a lot of those doubts. You will have a lot of those moments where you're just like, you know what? It would just be so much easier being in bed, just doing nothing. And honestly, that's why like I really believe having a big goal is one of the most important things, because during those times of suck, of like you're out by yourself for hours on end just with your thoughts and you're like, I could just turn back. Like, why don't I just turn back? Like there are so many of those tougher moments, and I can't stress that enough. Obviously, depending on like kind of the distance that you're going and whatnot, but I really believe that we have to overcome our minds. Like our mind will be the thing that tries to hold us back, that tries to keep us in safety, that tries to just say, you know what, like just go settle for this other small goal, or just like you don't have what it takes. And even if you have negative thoughts coming through, like that's normal. Like that's just going to consistently happen. And you start to find things in your body where it's just like, it's like, it's not working and you just want to head back, right? So yeah, I had to battle this so many different times to this day, especially when it comes to endurance-based stuff. I just find that that's such a killer for me. But the last and still one of the most important things is being able to differentiate your kind of that mindset of like embrace the suck, but also being able to listen to your body. Because there were a number of times where I felt like I did push myself a little bit too much. And even there was one day I'll never forget. It was supposed to be a 31K run. There was like a crazy deep feeling in my foot where it was just like it felt like something was coming up. It was just killing. And I just kept going. I kept going. I kept going. That should have been a sign, hey, take it easy today. But unfortunately, I ended up like injuring myself a little bit more because of that. Or there was times where I'd wake up and, I was sick and I tried to make it work and it just wasn't worth it. So like, I think, and this is where it gets tough, is like being able to differentiate, okay, it's my mind holding me back. And this is like truly a problem with my legs, with something going on. And there are a few times, like even in any of my phasing and the things that I've accomplished, that taking a small step back would have actually been better for me than just like pushing through and whatnot. So like it's important to understand, like, is it my mind or is it my body? And if it's truly your body and you need that extra day, obviously having a coach to be able to work around that. Even for me, having a coach was great because there was the days where I'd have the sickness or the setback and I'd be able to say, hey, listen, like here's what's going on. And he'd rework my volume. He'd rework the next week. And it was just so helpful. And I can't stress that enough. So those are my biggest tips to get ready for, strength training, as well as endurance-based events, maintaining muscle, maintaining the best version of yourself. So I have put together that free hybrid training guide. So make sure to message me on Instagram, free hybrid training guide. If you are looking to get to the next level on your journey and you want some accountability, some running programming, some lifting programming, and all that great stuff, as well as accountability, nutritional support, someone that's actually done it as well, make sure to click the second link and just fill out an application. I'd be happy to work with you one-on-one and just take the guesswork out of the process so you can accomplish whatever it is you're looking to accomplish. So thank you so much for spending time with me today. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.